broadcasting news. Join Paul David and Kyle Benedict as they talk with our community's leaders, newsmakers, and people in the know. You'll hear about the hot topics that affect all our lives in Yavapai County. And now here's today's County-Wide.
Welcome to County-Wide. I'm Kyle Benedict. Today we're talking carbon monoxide. Recently in the news, a family in Sedona was exposed to carbon monoxide and the family had to be taken to the hospital just for treatment. And I think that story got a lot of people thinking, or at least a little bit more cautious about carbon monoxide and the dangers of poisoning and what it is. So we decided to have a couple experts in. We have Verde Valley Fire Chief Nazeh Hazimi in to talk about this, as well as Verde Valley Ambulance Company Chief Kim Moore. Thank you both for coming in today.
Thanks for having us.
So I think this is something, it goes with smoke alarms and smoke detectors. You know, you can get carbon monoxide detectors, but that might not be something that you hear all the time about smoke alarms and smoke detectors and how important that is. But when you hear a story about carbon monoxide and people getting exposed to it, and you start hearing really the dangers of it, it's pretty concerning. So I guess first off, Chief Hazimi, what is carbon monoxide? Can you give us a rundown on that?
Sure. Carbon monoxide is basically is created from incomplete combustion. So whether you have a small engine running for equipment or tools, excuse me, or a furnace, your stove, anything that gives off flames, can give off carbon monoxide. So we're always looking and monitoring for clean burns, is what they call that. You know, when you have a clean flame. So, and then there's certain ways of identifying if it's not burning, if it has different colors and things of that nature. But that's for the experts to determine. The idea is to have your equipment, your furnaces, your hot water tank, anything that gives off a flame or is using a type of fuel like gasoline or natural gas or propane, things of that nature, they should be checked out every year by a certified technician just to make sure that everything is burning correctly. And you just mentioned smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors. That's a great source, a great tool to have in your home to detect for early detection of anything that's going wrong or something that's not burning correctly.
Okay, so I mean, just getting everything serviced, and I think we've had you and a couple other local agencies talking about getting those heating appliances serviced, you know, whether it's a fireplace, furnace, as you mentioned. I think with this family in Sedona, there was a leak in the furnace, and so that is what the cause of their exposure was. Kim, in terms of what carbon monoxide does to the body, why is it so harmful to the body? Can you kind of talk about what it does internally?
What it does actually is take the oxygen molecule, so it displaces your body into thinking that it has oxygen while it doesn't. So one of the signs and symptoms that you would start feeling is you'd get a headache, you might feel like flu-like symptoms. So those are good detectors to know that something's going on. And if you have another family member with you and they are feeling the same sudden onset of something like that, that would be another question. So that's what it does. It just starts displacing your oxygen to where you're.
So now, if somebody's experiencing symptoms, what would the best maybe measure before they call 911? What would be the best thing to do?
If they would go outside and see if they start feeling better and stay outside if they do and call 911. If they start having a headache, nausea, like flu-like symptoms, suddenly they could do that. That would be a way they could detect if something's going on inside their house. It's a tool they could use.
And it seems like especially one of the main indicators would be if you live with maybe two other people, there's three of you in the house, if everyone's experiencing the headache, the lightheadedness, maybe that's a red flag to get outside. And then I guess even if you get outside and stuff clears up, still call 911, I imagine. Yes. And so when the fire department or the ambulance company or the EMTs, paramedics get on scene, what is the first thing that you guys are doing on scene, Chief?
First thing we're doing is asking a lot of questions, determining, yes, in fact, there's more than one family member that's experiencing the same symptoms. As Chief Moore just mentioned, those are the signs that we look for, that it's not just one person that may be having a flu, but it could be several family members that are actually being exposed to carbon monoxide. So the first thing you want to do is get them out of the house. As the Chief just mentioned, remove yourself from that environment, that toxic environment. And if the symptoms start going away, that's a good sign that there's something going on in the house. And it's similar to the escape plan with fires. You know, it's the same concept. You get yourself away from harm's way, get into a safe environment, go to a safe meeting place. You know, we follow the same steps. You know, and once you get out, you never go back in if in fact you feel there is a problem in the house. But as the fire department responds to the scene, we're going to ask the questions, and we're going to go in and monitor the home for our residents to make sure that the air is clear. We have monitors that will detect carbon monoxide and what levels they are as well. Certain levels mean certain things, so we want to make sure that the home is safe before we allow them to go back in.
Okay, and now just based on the levels, is that how you kind of determine where the main source is?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And now, Kim, what is the difference? I mean, you hear about exposure and poisoning. What's exactly the difference between exposure and poisoning? I mean, it might be kind of, it might be obvious, but what exactly is that difference?
Well, then you would probably progress into the late stages of carbon monoxide poisoning. Would be you could go unconscious. You're going to have a lot more symptoms, bright cherry red skin, different things. If we find somebody that's unconscious, you would go unconscious.
Okay.
So, but depending on how long you're exposed to this environment and what's in it, depends on what you could come out with having some issues with your heart or whatever. There could be some long-term issues with carbon monoxide poisoning.
That was kind of my follow-up question. Are there any long-lasting effects with this? And so heart issues, you said?
Yeah, you could have
Okay.
some long-term issues depending.
So now in terms of time of exposure, does that, I mean, what does that depend on? If a leak starts in the furnace and you're exposed for 10 minutes, is that long enough in order to develop symptoms, or does it have to be, I mean, overnight you go to bed and one day you wake up and you have headaches? What kind of time frame and exposure are we talking about here?
I think it depends
how
on where
long?
the source is
Okay.
coming from and how much it is,
Okay.
what you're getting exposed to. I mean, 10 minutes could be very terrible if it's a high amount, but if it's a low leak or the source is giving off a low amount, then you're probably just going to get those first-time symptoms to start with, those little warning symptoms, and then you might notice on and off that you're kind of feeling a little sick, and then, you know, so just kind of watch that.
Again, yeah, I guess if everybody's having similar symptoms, just get outside and see if they go away, and then call 911. I mean, I think when you have a story about a family who gets exposed to this and they go to the hospital, I think people start thinking, at least I did, I'm like, man, you go to bed and you don't know there's a leak. I mean, it's odorless and colorless, right? There's no way for you to detect this on your own, right?
It goes back to detectors, right?
It goes back to detectors, and now
in place.
And one thing you hear about is, in terms of smoke detectors, is changing the batteries and trying to get on that routine, you know, where it's you're doing them all at the same time and the same time of year or every so often. Can you get on that same routine with carbon monoxide detectors? Is it the same time frame and changing batteries
Sure.
or any of that? Okay.
Absolutely. You can test them the same way. There's a little test button on them. Really the only difference with a carbon monoxide detector versus a smoke detector is the batteries need to be changed every 5 years. I'm sorry, let me take that back. They need to be replaced every 5 years, the whole unit, versus a smoke detector needs to be replaced every 10 years. Batteries are the same. They need to be checked frequently, once a month. Just push the button and test it and make sure it's working.
Okay.
As far as replacing the battery, twice a year.
Okay, so you can kind of get on the same routine,
Sure.
change them all
Fall,
at the same
spring
time.
is usually a good times to do
Okay,
those.
and then you said the whole unit for a carbon monoxide detector has to be changed every 5 years.
5 years.
Okay,
And 10
smoke
for a smoke detector.
Perfect. Okay. Well, when we come back from our break, we'll talk about the treatment for somebody with who had been exposed to carbon monoxide and carbon monoxide poisoning. We'll talk about all that with the Verde Valley Fire Chief and Verde Valley Ambulance Company Chief here on Countywide when we return.
This was me. And Mom and Dad. And my big brother Alex. And Jack. And this was the day that I learned that sandals get their name from sand. That jellyfish aren't made of jelly. that stars don't just come from the sky. That the ocean is bigger than all of us. This is the day we all got to forget that I was sick. And it changed everything. This was my wish.
I dare you. I dare you to change the world. Yeah, you. Getting that college education.
I dare you to be somebody important.
Like be a teacher. Or a reality TV star.
I dare you to stand up here.
To call the shots.
To be a role model.
An inspiration. An innovator.
To be a teacher.
Think you can change my life? Make me excited about science like you?
Have a career that really means something?
Then do it.
I dare you.
Welcome back to Countywide. I'm Kyle Benedict, sitting down with Verde Valley Fire Chief Nazeh Hazimi and Verde Valley Ambulance Company Chief Kim Moore. We're talking about carbon monoxide. A couple weeks ago, or a few months ago maybe now, family in Sedona, that's kind of what kind of brought up this whole topic. A family in Sedona was exposed to carbon monoxide from a leak, I believe, from their furnace, and were taken to the hospital. So we just thought we'd have you guys in to talk about the dangers of carbon monoxide and really how to just create awareness, because it's something odorless, colorless gas, and something that really can cause damage. So Kim, when we're talking about somebody who has been exposed, what, in terms of treatment, where do you start and kind of how does that treatment progress from someone who's been exposed?
Well, the first thing we do is put high flow oxygen on them to try to displace that CO. And then we will give them an IV, we'll put them on the heart monitor, try to determine how long they've been exposed, and the fire department will be able to tell at what range the CO is in their house, so that's a good determinant too, to know if it's really high. And their symptoms would be able to tell us how long they've been in there too. If they're conscious, that's always good. So someone could be found unconscious, and that would mean that they're very much more severe in that stage. CO stays in your body for at least 24 hours. So that's
really?
how long it takes, for them to try to get that out, because it attaches to the hemoglobin. So.
Okay, so if you show up to the scene and somebody's unconscious, is it this kind of treatment the same from the beginning? I mean, high flow oxygen and all that stuff. Okay.
Yeah, because we wouldn't know why they're unconscious.
Okay, so then now you mentioned it's in your system for 24 hours. Does that mean they're going to be in the hospital for overnight and just kind of for 24 hours until it gets out of their system?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, and then of course, then you got to take care of where the leak came from, right? And that's, I guess, what the crews inside are finding out. Now, in terms of prevention, you mentioned getting stuff serviced, all your appliances serviced, but what else can folks do to just prevent being exposed to carbon monoxide or preventing leaks?
Well, your appliances and your equipment in your home that run off of fuel and have the flames need a way to vent. So the ventilation system of that equipment has to be properly vented all the way up through the roof, through the side of the house, wherever it's vented through, to get outside and leave the home. Unfortunately, those vents sometimes fail, or they sometimes separate at some of the fittings, and so they need to be fixed. Well, some people like to try to fix those things themselves with tape and different types of patching materials that just don't hold. And so they break off, they split, things happen, and now you have the incomplete combustion that's supposed to be venting out of the house, comes back into the home. There's been cases actually where people have plugged up their vents, so the theory is so they bring the heat back into the home, not thinking about the toxic gases that are also coming with the heat. So you really need to be cautious of that, and also never use your stove as a heating device for the home. That gives off long-term burning can give off carbon monoxide, and they start to fail if they're burning for such a long time. Small engines, keep those away from any doorways or windows. If you're running a generator outside, even your vehicles, when people like to warm them up this time of the year, take them outside of the garage, and also close the garage door behind you, because if the wind's blowing the right way, it's going to blow all the exhaust fumes back into the garage, which eventually gets back into the home, and that's all carbon monoxide. So you just got to be thinking of the travel of the gases, of where they're going to go, and how do you prevent that from happening. Even driving a pickup truck with the tailgate down draws in carbon monoxide back into the cab. So keeping your windows cracked is the key to keep circulation going. So if you're hauling equipment or wood, for instance, yeah, something to keep in mind.
Okay.
So
That's, yeah, I'm glad you brought up some of those other, I mean, because you think about, I mean, at least I go directly to a heating appliance, you know, a furnace or even a stove. But when you talk about vehicles and exhaust and all that, I mean, I didn't know about the tailgate. That's something definitely to think about.
And with the appliances and equipment, the key is to make sure that you have the label of Underwriters Laboratory on it that tells you it's been inspected, it's been tested, it's ready to go, and it's safe.
Yeah, I mean, it just getting those certs, and again, by a certified technician. I mean, we've had in the news, I mean, almost, it's yearly, seasonal. When winter comes, you have people, you know, whether it's carbon monoxide or a big thing is hot ashes, but still you have these reoccurring stories year in and year out, and people who set their house on fire because either they change the pipe by themselves or they try to install it themselves and something doesn't go right. That's why you have certified technicians, right? So maybe shifting gears, kind of talking about winter and all that stuff. You mentioned not heating your home with your stove. I think with that could come with just reminding people during the holiday season, a lot of stuff's going to be going on. We're approaching Christmas and New Year's and all of that. So watch your kids around the kitchen with the stove on, pots and pans on the stove. Just make sure those handles are turned in. But again, disposal of ashes is one that we're talking about almost weekly here. Can you just remind the viewers and listeners again how to properly dispose of those wood stove or fireplace ashes?
Yeah, the best way to do it is to place it in a metal container. I mean, you can get those at the hardware store, but the key is to put it into something that's not combustible and allow that time frame for it to actually cool down. Usually give it a day. But if you put it in a container, take it away from the home. Don't just put it in the garage. Put it somewhere away from the structure itself. Maybe in the backyard somewhere where it's not going to be exposed to any other combustibles. It's kind of hard to tell what's still burning in those ashes and what isn't burning in those ashes. So you just want to make sure that it's out completely.
Okay, yeah, and again, get it away from the house. And of course, as we're approaching Christmas, those Christmas trees are up in the living room looking pretty with the lights and everything on them, but this is kind of that time where they start to dry out a little bit. So of course, I want to remind people to make sure they're watering those Christmas trees as well. We're going to take our second break. Again, we're talking carbon monoxide and just other kind of getting into some other safety measures here during the winter season with Verde Valley Fire Chief Nazeh Hazimi and Verde Valley Ambulance Company Chief Kim Moore. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll continue our conversation on carbon monoxide.
You think getting dumped by text is harsh? Try getting dumped by a tennis ball. My ex-owner drove me out to the woods, yelled fetch, and by the time I brought the ball back, he was gone. Yeah, I was pissed. But the folks at the shelter helped me let go of my anger. I learned coping skills, like taking it to the hole. Boom! Now I'm ready to fetch again. But how about I throw and you run and get it?
The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today.
Marie, you have prediabetes.
Prediabetes? I don't have time to eat right or exercise. I'm a busy mom.
Oh, you're a busy mom.
Yeah.
This is great news. Busy moms never get prediabetes.
Wait, what?
Let me just... Yeah, this is all the people at risk for prediabetes, and way over here, busy moms. No?
Welcome back to Countywide. I'm Kyle Benedict, talking carbon monoxide and the dangers that come with carbon monoxide with Verde Valley Fire Chief Nazeh Hazimi and Verde Valley Ambulance Company Chief Kim Moore. We covered what carbon monoxide is, how you treat a patient who has been exposed to carbon monoxide, preventative measures, getting all of your appliance serviced, having your vehicle on in the garage as well is not a good idea if you're in there as well. So, but I guess the first thing is if you have any doubt, call 911, right?
Call 911. Yep, day or night, get us going. So the fire department and EMS will show up and we'll assess the situation and ask questions and make sure everybody is safe. And if there's no dangers and no harm and it's simple cold-like symptoms and there's nothing else to be concerned with, we go back to the stations.
Yeah. You don't get in trouble, right? If
Nobody gets in trouble. No.
You guys just go and you get to get some sleep. So yeah, call 911. Any doubt? That's their job. That's why they're there. Is if you think you're exposed to something or if you have a medical issue, call 911. And it's also, I think, it affects humans. It can also affect animals, right? Carbon monoxide.
Absolutely. Got to protect our pets as well. Certainly, if you're going to evacuate from your home because you suspect that there might be some carbon monoxide leak somewhere, make sure you bring your pets along with you.
And now, just kind of curious, Kim, what would the treatment be for a pet? Is it the same?
Yes.
Oxygen?
They would need oxygen.
Yeah.
They would need to leave the environment, yes.
Okay. So if you're getting you and your family out, get the dog or the cat and
all your
gerbils,
pets.
Everything.
Sure.
Get them all out. And I guess right before we go, we have about a minute left. Christmas lights, right? Just kind of another, we're kind of here at the end of the show grouping all these safety measures in for the winter season and holiday season, but Christmas lights, right? People keep them on all over the place, inside and out. What are some of the things with that people need to remember?
Well, just like your appliances, you want to make sure they have the UL stamp on it under Reuters Laboratory. It's been tested, it's been checked out, it's safe. But the key is make sure everything is off before you go to bed at night, including your candles. People like to use the candles during the holidays more than ever, and just make sure everything is blown out and there's nothing left on, and you can go to bed knowing that you're going to be safe.
Yeah. I guess, with candles, some people maybe are going away from the live tree, but they get the Christmas tree scented candle just to kind of get that same feeling, right? Make sure you blow those out. So again, remember to watch the kids in the kitchen while you're cooking, and there's a lot of stuff going on. They can reach up there and see what mom or dad's cooking. Make sure you watch them. Again, those heating appliances, make sure they're getting serviced, proper disposal of ashes from wood stoves or fireplaces, metal container, and then as Chief Hazimi said, away from the house, any combustibles, just get them out of the way because they can stay hot for a while. And again, along with the smoke detectors and smoke alarms, carbon monoxide detectors, and those batteries change the same every 2 months, right? The batteries?
Twice a year.
Twice a year.
Test them every month.
Test them every month, change them twice a year, and then remember you have to replace the CO unit every 5 years, smoke detector every 10 years. So thank you both for being here. A lot of stuff.
Thanks, Kyle. A lot of information.
Happy holidays to both of you again. Thanks for coming in. So that's going to do it for today's Countywide. Again, talking carbon monoxide poisoning. I want to thank our guests. That's going to do it for today's show. We'll see you and talk to you again next time.